Hello, and a very good evening. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. I'm Frank Pereira with the news tonight. Here are the latest headlines. Flood waters start receding in Jammu and Kashmir. Army and Air Force scale up rescue work to evacuate 6 lakh people. External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj meets Afghan President Hamid Karzai, inaugurates the Indian Embassy building in Kabul. Aam Aadmi Party leaders meet Delhi Lieutenant Governor Najib Jung, ask him to withdraw letter seeking President's permission to invite BJP. "100-day report card of the Civil Aviation Ministry makes no mention of loss-making airports. 93 out of 107 Indian airports are in the red. US President Barack Obama all set to outline military offensive to defeat the Islamic State militants in Syria and Iraq. Top focus on the bulletin tonight. After a week-long nightmare, floodwaters have finally started to recede in Srinagar. Close to 30,000 people were rescued on Monday and a total of 80,000 rescued so far, even as lakhs still remain stranded in different parts of Jammu and Kashmir. Army and Air Force have scaled up rescue work, deploying more resources in the valley, but road and telecom connectivity still remains the two biggest concerns for the rescue teams.
With no rain since Tuesday, rescue operations in flood-hit Jammu and Kashmir have gained momentum. Choppers were used to rescue people stranded on rooftops in Srinagar on Wednesday. So far, around 80,000 people have been rescued by the Army, Air Force and NDRF teams. But the situation remains grim as over 4 lakh people are yet to be reached.
This army is there is no doubt about it. And the operations are carrying on for evacuation throughout day and night. At night also, throughout the night we are operating. And we are supplying all the essentials. Food, water, blankets, tents, medical facilities, and those who need medical assistance that is being provided, those who need medical treatment.
आप देख सकते हैं कि यहाँ पर वायुसेना के हेलीकॉप्टर में बचाव दल ने कुछ और लोगों को उस जगह से निकाला है जहां पर ये 4-5 रोज से फंसे हुए थे। आप इनकी मनोदशा समझ सकते हैं, इनकी तकलीफें समझ सकते हैं, जहां पर इनको भूखे प्यासे 3-4 दिन गुजारने पड़े। लेकिन अब शायद ये उन खुशनसीब लोगों में से हैं जिनको कि सुरक्षित निकाला जा चुका है।
इधर बहुत मुश्किल था, हम लोग 3 दिन खड़ा था, उधर पानी भी नहीं है, खाना भी कुछ भी नहीं है।
हर कोई मिलके इस कोशिश में है कि कितना ज़्यादा हम लोगों तक पहुंच पाएं। इसमें आर्मी, एयर फोर्स, एनडीआरएफ, पुलिस, सीआरपीएफ, बीएसएफ, सिविल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, सबों की एक ही एक कोशिश है कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोगों तक पहुंचा जाए।
The army has built a temporary bridge over the river Tavi in a bid to reach flood-ravaged villages. Nearly 45,000 people living in about 45 villages in the surrounding area were cut off after the bridge collapsed.
इस पुल को बनाने के बाद में हमने इसे राहत सेतु का नाम दिया है, क्योंकि इस पुल के जरिए न केवल राहत सामग्री जा रही है, बल्कि इसने लोगों के दिलों में भी एक राहत की सांस दी है।
As water begins to recede from parts of the state, the magnanimity of the devastation is slowly becoming clear. Demand for food and drinking water has gone up. Victims are calling for more relief. The state has also suffered massive loss of crops, leading to an increased demand for compensation.
ना हमें 4 दिन से खाना मिला है, ऊपर एक दिन हमने ब्रेकफास्ट किया था जिस दिन आए थे, 3 दिन से यहाँ फंसे हैं।
Connectivity remains the biggest hurdle in rescue operations. While some of the key road links are open, several villages still remain inaccessible. Efforts are on to restore telecom lines as soon as possible.
कम्युनिकेशन जो है उसको अभी चालू किया जा रहा है। हमारे पास जितने भी सेट्स हैं, सैटेलाइट फोन्स, वो दे दिए हैं और हम बल्कि मोबाइल कम्युनिकेशन भी आप देखेंगे 2-3 दिन के अंदर काफ़ी एरियाज में अंदर।
Meanwhile, Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Umar Abdullah took an aerial survey of the flood-hit areas on Wednesday. As floodwaters recede from parts of the capital, the state administration's biggest fear is widespread epidemic. With Pranav Goswami in Srinagar, Bureau Inputs for Rajya Sabha TV.
The phone line with Pranav Goswami at the moment, our correspondent who's at ground zero even as we speak right now. Pranav, bring us up to date with the situation, with the ground situation there in the flood affected areas of Jammu and Kashmir.
Frank, situation is so pathetic and terrible that it cannot be expressed by words. People are surviving without water and food, and they are in streets. Though rescue operation is being run successfully by NDRF and Air Force, Army and BSF and other agencies, but lakhs of people are still stuck, and there are many places in Srinagar which are underwater. Luckily, there is no rain, so it's getting a little easier for rescue team. And I spoke today to Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, Umar Abdullah, and he assured, and he is very optimistic that rescue operation will be over by next few days. But the next challenge will be, and that will be the bigger challenge, that the relief and rehabilitation. But certainly, what I can say, what I witnessed, that this flood situation that has not only cost a lot, but Kashmir lost so many things that these losses will take very long to get recovered.
Indeed, of course, the losses will take a lot of time to recover, but at the moment the focus will be on trying to get all those people who are stranded at several locations back to safety. Relief and rescue seems to be the order of the day as we speak right now. But as far as the efforts put in by the rescue teams are concerned, of course, Pranav, it certainly is a Herculean task, and they have done extremely well and they've been extremely helpful as well as far as those stranded people are concerned, working overnight and working 24/7 to try and get to those people who are stranded across the state.
Certainly, BSF and Air Force and NDRF and other agencies, Army, they have done tremendous job, and they have been doing the rescue operation so successfully. But the next challenge will be, as I said, that the rescue operation will be over by next few days. But the next challenge will be for those agencies as well as for state government. Will be the relief and rehabilitation, and that is going to be the next challenge for state government as well as for center also.
Now, for those looking for more information on the flood situation in Jammu and Kashmir, the centre has come out with helpline numbers. Here are the flood control room numbers set up by the government. As Jammu and Kashmir battles massive floods, other states are bracing for a similar situation. In Andhra Pradesh, water level of Godavari River is on the rise, raising concerns of massive flooding in East and West Godavari districts. Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu has asked officials to remain alert to ensure faster relief and rescue operation. In Gujarat, the Met Department has issued a flood warning after heavy rains lashed many parts of central and northern Gujarat in the last 24 hours. In Vadodara, water level of Vishwamitri River is in spate. Over 2 lakh people in the city have been affected. The civic body has sought Army's help to provide food packets to those stranded in inundated residential areas.
भर गया है, इसलिए आने जाने में सब जगह तकलीफ हो रही है और खाने पीने का भी प्रॉब्लम हो सकता है। अगर ट्रांसपोर्टेशन नहीं हो सका तो सब लोगों को तकलीफ परेशानी होगी।
सब प्रबंध कर दिया है, लेकिन हमें अलर्ट रहना है। यदि इसमें बाढ़ में विश्वामित्री नदी में ज़्यादा पानी आता है तो ज़्यादा विस्तारों में वो पानी जाएगा, इसीलिए हमें अलर्ट रहना है। और अलर्ट रहने के लिए या ज़्यादा पानी आ जाता है तो हम लोगों ने एनडीआरएफ की 3 कंपनियां रखी है, आर्मी तैनात की है, बोट वगैरह दिया है, पुलिस डिपार्टमेंट में जो तरवैये हैं जो स्विमिंग करते हैं उनको भी अलर्ट रखा है। ये सब काम राज्य सरकार ने कर दिया है। थैंक यू।
Meanwhile, the death toll in the Pakistan floods has crossed 230. Officials said more than 2 lakh people are displaced. Thousands of Houses and farmlands have been submerged. Landslides have damaged roads and power lines, leaving many without electricity and drinking water. Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif and Army Chief Raheel Sharif visited the flood-hit areas on Tuesday. Prime Minister has assured rehabilitation to those affected. Troops have been put on high alert as the Pakistan Meteorological Department forecast more rains in the next 24 to 48 hours.
हुकूमत आपके घरों को दोबारा तामीर करने के लिए, अपने मामलात को ठीक करने के लिए इंशाल्लाह आपकी पूरी मदद करेगी, पूरा आपका साथ देगी और पीछे नहीं हटेगी इंशाल्लाह, चाहे कितना भी खर्च हो जाए हम करेंगे इंशाल्लाह इसके लिए.
Well, in a bid to enhance strategic bilateral cooperation between India and Afghanistan, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj arrived in Afghanistan on Wednesday. India will also help Afghanistan deal with key challenges of security and stability. Here's more.
External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj arrived in Kabul on Wednesday. The minister is in the neighbouring country in a bid to strengthen ties and review the progress of key projects that have been implemented in Afghanistan by India. Afghanistan is standing at an important juncture as it approaches the first democratic transfer of power since the fall of the Taliban. Swaraj's visit comes at a time when there are rising fears of the re-emergence of the Taliban and other Al-Qaeda-linked elements in the country as NATO forces prepare to withdraw by the end of this year. The External Affairs Minister held talks with Afghanistan President Hamid Karzai on crucial bilateral and regional issues as well as on defence and security assistance from India. Afghanistan has been pressing India for supplying military hardware to strengthen its security setup. India has invested $2 billion in aid and reconstruction and trained scores of Afghan officers, but has been careful in the supply of arms and military hardware for fear of provoking Pakistan as well as armed groups in Afghanistan. India is the fifth largest bilateral donor in Afghanistan after the US, UK, Japan and Germany. India's program covers 4 broad areas: infrastructure projects, humanitarian assistance, small and community-based development projects, and education and capacity development. Among India's major infrastructure projects are the highway from Zaranj to Delaram in southwestern Afghanistan and the construction of the Afghan Parliament building. India has also taken initiative to develop the Chabahar port in Iran, which could act as a major transit point for India to Afghanistan. Swaraj also met Afghanistan counterpart Zarar Ahmad Osmani and inaugurated the new Indian embassy in Kabul. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, a day after accusing the Delhi Lieutenant Governor of partisanship, AAP leaders met him on Wednesday. The party has asked him to withdraw the letter to the president in which he has sought permission to invite the BJP to form the government in Delhi. It has also given him a CD of its sting operation claiming horse trading by the BJP to gain majority in the Delhi Assembly.
Aam Aadmi Party leaders met Delhi's Lieutenant Governor Najib Jung on Wednesday. The party has requested him to withdraw his letter to the president recommending invitation to BJP to form the government in Delhi. The party gave him a CD of its sting operation which allegedly shows horse trading by BJP.
आने वाले समय में इसको राष्ट्रपति महोदय को भी देंगे सीडी की कॉपी, क्योंकि अभी उनकी पहली वाली रिकमेंडेशन भी एलजी साहब की रिकमेंडेशन वही है राष्ट्रपति साहब के पास में, लेकिन हम उम्मीद करेंगे कि एलजी साहब अपनी रिकमेंडेशन बदलेंगे और राष्ट्रपति महोदय को नई चिट्ठी लिख के बताएंगे कि किस तरह से हॉर्स ट्रेडिंग हो रही है, हॉर्स ट्रेडिंग की कोशिशें हो रही हैं यहाँ पे दिल्ली में सरकार बनाने के लिए.
The meeting with Jung comes a day after the Supreme Court gave the central government a month to end the deadlock over government formation in Delhi. While Aam Aadmi Party has demanded dissolution of the assembly to hold fresh elections, BJP and Congress have left the decision with the LG. However, Congress too questioned the LG for recommending BJP to form the next government. BJP has accused both the parties of trying to return to power through the back door.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी के पास नंबर नहीं है. पहले वो सरकार बनाने से इनकार कर चुके हैं. आज उनके पास नंबर कहां से आ गए?
देश के शासन को, प्रशासन को, लेफ्टिनेंट गवर्नर को, जनता को, सबको डिक्टेट करने का काम केजरीवाल साहब का है क्या? क्या वही सब कुछ ठीक सोचते हैं या उनका ही सोचना ठीक है?
The ball is now in the court of the Lieutenant Governor. It remains to be seen if he will make any changes to his recommendations after Aam Aadmi Party's explosive claims of horse trading in Delhi. With inputs from Anu Diwan, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
It's time for a short break now, but we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, China is likely to announce establishment of industrial parks in India during President Xi Jinping's visit this month. Commerce and Trade Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said that India will ask China to set up manufacturing units for exports as it seeks to restore economic momentum and provide jobs. She also said that the government is not considering any immediate cut in gold import duty, which was hiked to 10% last year to check widening current account deficit.
India is rich with good manpower, well-trained manpower. We think particularly in activities where large-scale technology-driven but labor-intensive production units have to be set in. No other better place can be found in the globe today than in India. So when the Chinese investments are being drawn.
Well, the National Food Security Act has only got a half-hearted response so far from a majority of states. Only 9 states and 2 union territories have introduced the food security scheme under the Act. These include Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan, Himachal Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Delhi and Chandigarh. An extended deadline for implementing the law will expire in October and the centre may have to give more time.
कोई भी राज्य सरकार ना नहीं कह रही है, सब कहती है कि हम उसको लागू करने का काम करेंगे, लेकिन अभी तक किसी राज्य सरकार के द्वारा जो है 11 राज्यों को छोड़ करके उसको लागू करने की सूचना अभी तक जो है सो नहीं मिली है.
Well, with more than 90 airports in India under severe financial pressure, the airport authority is desperately starved for private sector investment. But the government is yet to come up with any answers to India's loss-making airports. Here's a fact check.
93 of the country's 107 airports are in the red, but the 100-day report card of the Civil Aviation Ministry mentions no solutions for them, not even when most of them have been forced to cut down services and flights.
We are not against public sector either. So the question is that certain airports are to be privatized. There's a thought about it. You see, we have not fixed targets for all this.
In 2012, the earlier UPA government proposed privatization of the loss-making airports but did not find any takers. More recently, the NDA government said it wanted to privatize 6 airports on the PPP model, but no one is ready to sign any agreements yet on its rates.
That's a fact. One has to face it. Because an airport cannot make profit, my dear, until unless the aeroplanes go there. So in aviation, everything is interrelated.
The public-private partnership model has worked well in the civil aviation sector. Both the Indira Gandhi International Airport in Delhi and the Chhatrapati Shivaji International Airport in Mumbai have healthy balance sheets. Since 2006, revenue collections have increased 48% for the Delhi airport and 35% for Mumbai. The same is true for international airports at Hyderabad, Bangalore and Cochin.
Mumbai, they are getting 38 or 37, something like that, 36 maybe. I'm forgetting the exact figure, but it's very high. Now that kind of revenue is more than what they were getting. And therefore their fund is still good. Okay. So they have not lost anything. Now what they have to do is to calibrate to see that the rest of the airports, we can't privatize 100 airports because most of them are not running at a profit. But there are some on the edge where the private sector can improve the non-aero revenue.
The airport authorities' losses are a major cause for concern for the government and the private airline operators. The Modi government's plan to build 200 new airports connecting the remotest part of the country hinges on urgently improving the authorities' financial health.
The financial situations of all Indian airports provides concern for the Modi government, which is trying to build 200 more new airports to connect regional areas in the country. Should the government go ahead in constructing new airports while the existing ones are running in losses? With camera person Suresh, Rajkamal Rao, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, let's now bring you up to date with the other national news and updates in our special segment Nationwide. Telangana Chief Minister K. Chandrasekhar Rao stirred a controversy by warning media against what he called attempts to denigrate his state. KCR made these remarks in an address in Warangal district where he threatened to bury the media outlets that insulted his state. KCR's statements were directed at 2 TV channels, ABN Andhra Jyoti and TV9. The Muzaffarnagar police filed a charge sheet in a local court against BJP President Amit Shah. It alleged that the BJP President allegedly violated the model code of conduct by making an objectionable speech during the Lok Sabha election campaign. Shah reportedly sought votes on the grounds of religion and caste. 3 militants were killed in a fierce gun battle with army troops along the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir. The troops launched an operation along the line of control in Kupwara district on Wednesday morning after receiving specific information. The Supreme Court today banned the Kerala government from cancelling licenses for liquor bars for now. The court said that it will hear the case filed by bar owners on Thursday. The state government had imposed a ban on liquor sales at bars and hotels below 5-star category from the 11th of September. The Madhya Pradesh government today announced the Global Investor Summit to attract investment to the state. The summit will take place from the 8th till the 10th of October at its commercial capital, Indore. The Confederation of Indian Industry is the national partner. Moving on to some international news now, Ukraine has pledged more autonomy for the eastern part of the country where separatists are battling government troops for almost 5 months. However, President Poroshenko rejected the idea of federalization, something that Russia is still pushing for even after a ceasefire began on Friday.
Ukraine will stay united. That was the message President Petro Poroshenko gave on Monday. Although he's agreed to grant special status to some areas in Donetsk and Luhansk, Poroshenko insisted that the peace roadmap agreed between Ukraine and pro-Russian separatists last week envisaged a united Ukraine.
Не здамо ані питання суверенного устрою нашої держави, ані питання незалежності, ані питання територіальної цілісності. Ми залишаємося соборною.
Meanwhile, the ceasefire between government forces and the rebels in eastern Ukraine held despite reports of several clashes. Ukraine says the situation is tense in Donetsk and Luhansk regions. European Union members are meeting in Brussels on Wednesday to consider tougher Russian sanctions. Russia has warned it could block international flights through its airspace if it goes ahead with the new measures.
Wenn die 12 Punkte wirklich substanziell erfüllt werden, werden wir die Ersten sein, die die neuen Sanktionen auch wieder aufheben, denn sie sind kein Selbstzweck, sondern sie werden immer nur verhängt, wenn sie unvermeidlich sind.
Both Ukraine and Russia are gradually releasing their prisoners of war. Under the truce last Friday, all captives will be freed by the end of the week. Ukraine says Russia has also withdrawn 70% of its troops from eastern Ukraine. Moscow denies sending any troops and arming the separatists. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
More international news now. President Obama is prepared to authorize airstrikes in Syria, taking the military campaign against the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria into new and unpredictable terrain. However, Obama is still wrestling with a series of challenges, including how to train and equip a viable ground force to fight IS militants inside Syria. Here's a report.
US President Barack Obama told congressional leaders on Tuesday that he has the authority he needs to take action against the Islamic State militant group. Obama, who's scheduled to address the nation on Wednesday night, outlined a plan that includes continued US airstrikes, counterterrorism actions, aid from other nations, and military training and assistance to moderates in Iraq and Syria. The White House said that congressional leaders expressed their support for efforts to degrade and ultimately destroy the Islamic State. Meanwhile, US Secretary of State John Kerry was in Iraq on Wednesday for top-level talks. The purpose of the visit was to forge a coalition against the Sunni militants who have seized control of much of northern and western Iraq and to show support for Iraq's new government.
There is literally no place for their barbarity in the modern world. And this is a fight that the Iraqi people must win, but it's also a fight that the rest of the world needs to win with them. And it's a fight the United States and the rest of the world need to support every single step of the way.
The Obama administration has made the formation of an inclusive Iraqi government a precondition for expanding security assistance to Baghdad in its fight against the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria.
The fact that the Iraqis were able to overcome such deep sectarian and ethnic divides and approve a new and inclusive government is really a great accomplishment. They were able to do this, the fact that they were able to do this peacefully in the midst of unspeakable terror and violence and bloodshed is nothing short of historic.
Even though two crucial and potentially divisive posts remained unfulfilled, Kerry has described the progress made in forming a power-sharing government as a major milestone. The United States believes Iraq will have a critical role in the effort to degrade and eventually defeat Islamic State. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, only a week remains before Scotland votes on its independence. Prime Minister David Cameron is asking Scots not to break away from Britain's family of nations. Prime Minister David Cameron, leader of the opposition Ed Miliband and Deputy Prime Minister Nick Clegg are visiting Scotland to stop citizens from voting ahead of the 18th September referendum on independence. Cameron says that he desperately wants Scotland to remain in the United Kingdom and said independence is a leap in the dark that will harm future generations. A recent survey shows that 1/4 of the Scottish population will vote for independence.
Because I would be heartbroken. I care hugely about this extraordinary country, this United Kingdom that we've built together. And that's what I want to talk about today. Because I would be heartbroken if this family of nations that we've put together and that we've done such amazing things together, if this family of nations was torn apart. This is a decision about not the next 5 years, it's a decision about the next century. And of course, it's absolutely the Scottish people and the Scottish people alone who must make that choice. But I think it's really important everyone knows the scale of the choice being made.
Here's all the other international news and updates in our segment Global Buzz. At least 28 Syrian rebel leaders, including senior leader Hassan Aboud, were killed in a deadly blast in the northwestern province of Idlib on Tuesday. The rebel leaders belong to the Ahrar al-Sham militant group, a hardline Islamist group. An earthquake of 6.5 magnitude struck off Indonesia's Sulawesi island on Wednesday. There were no immediate reports of casualties, injuries or damage. The US Geological Survey said that the quake struck at a depth of 22.5 kilometers and was centered about 122 kilometers in northern Sulawesi. Apple Inc. unveiled their much-awaited products, including a watch in San Francisco on Tuesday. Apple Watch is the first new product to be developed under Chief Executive Officer Tim Cook's leadership. It is a timepiece tethered to the iPhone that will combine health and fitness tracking with communications. Cook presented it after introducing the new iPhone 6 and 6 Plus. The watch will come in 3 different collections. Well, that's it on this edition of the Bulletin. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.